Yo, what's up? This is your boy Sporting with KB. This is week 1. Running backs and quarterbacks starts and sits. Who do you need to start and who do you need to sit? I'm doing wide receivers and tight ends, and then I'm also doing defenses and kickers to get you ready for week 1 of fantasy football season. Thursday is slowly approaching, or fastly approaching, the Cowboys and the Bucks. So I'm gonna try to get you out as much information as I can to apply it to that game, and then also applying to all of the others as well. So with all that being said, all that being done, get nice and comfortable. Get your coffee, get your muffin, whatever you do it is to get comfortable. This is Sporting with KB, and this is week 1. Quarterback and running back starts and sits. Let's go. Alright, so the first quarterback start is none other than my guy, Jalen Hurts. And I say my guy because he's my starting quarterback. And that's not really the whole reason. That's why I want you to start him. He's in a really good matchup. He's playing against one of the worst defenses last year, and they actually didn't even improve. He has a pretty solid cast of weapons, good tight ends, young receivers, but I think playing against Atlanta, this matchup would be fairly easy. So go ahead and start Jalen Hurts with confidence. Quarterback that I want you to start is Mr. Ryan Tannehill. Why I call him Tannehill? Because I feel like he's going to kill his matchup against the Arizona Cardinals. It's going to be a potentially really high scoring game because both teams have defenses that are not yet proven. They have some weapons that they got in the offseason, but I just feel like that's going to be an offensive game. So start Tannehill in your starting lineup and be confident in it. Let's go to the next one. The guy that is going against a really unproven secondary and unproven defense as a whole is Kirk Cousins. He has a loaded offense as well. We don't even need to name who's on his offense because you see half of them in the video. Alright, go ahead and start Kirk Cousins, man. He has a lot of weapons. He has a superstar running back, superstar receivers, superstars everywhere against an unproven defense. It's easy. Start the Kirk. Some other guys that you could start with some confidence is Joe Burrow against Minnesota, Dak Prescott against Tampa Bay, and Jimmy G against the Detroit Lions. Guys that are not pictured or written down is also Matt Ryan. You can start Matt Ryan with some confidence. You could also start Trevor Lawrence with some confidence because he's going against Houston. He's playing against one of the worst defenses, I feel like, this year, and one of the worst teams. They really don't have anything to play for. So I think Trevor Lawrence is probably going to have a really good game. His first game. So you got more than a few weapons, more than a few guys that you can start with confidence. Go ahead and pause the video. Whatever you got to do to remember all of those guys. Now we are going to quarterback sits. So let's go. So this is quarterback sits. And you can already see who I'm going to talk about. First guy I'm going to talk about is Tua. Tua is facing Bill Belichick in New England. And a young quarterback in New England, that could be your worst nightmare. Now, young quarterbacks that specifically rush has gave Bill Belichick a time. But Tua hasn't really shown too much. Now, we could write this matchup as an asterisk. Maybe Tua goes in there and he conquers Bill Belichick, but that's easier said than done. So if I were you, I would sit Tua this week and just wait it out. Maybe he has a good matchup next week, but for this week, I wouldn't say start him. The very next sit that I have for you is none other than my guy Derek Carr. As some of you may know, and in case you don't, I am a diehard Raider fan, but I'm an honest Raider fan. I'm an honest fan as it is. I'm not biased. at all. Derek Carr against the Ravens is probably not the best matchup. That is a really good defense that we're going to be facing, and also, obviously a really good defensive line. And we have an unproven offensive line and unproven receivers. It is what it is. If I were you, I wouldn't start the Carr this week, fellas, ladies, whoever's watching it. I wouldn't do it. All right. Another guy that you might be able to sit with confidence is none other than Jameis Winston. That game is a little scary because Jameis Winston's a little scary. What I mean about Jameis Winston being a little scary is because it's times that he can play like an elite quarterback. He can throw that ball around the field and get you 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, but he also can get you 4 interceptions and 5 turnovers, with one other being a fumble. I just don't feel like going against Green Bay is going to be a chance for him to do any of that stuff, especially the fact that they're not going to be in New Orleans. They're going to be playing in Jacksonville because of Hurricane Ida. Unfortunately, prayers up to everybody in New Orleans, Louisiana, if you're watching this video. But Jameis Winston is probably not a really good start this week. Go ahead and sit your boo. All right, so Zach Wilson against Carolina, Carson Wentz versus Seattle, Justin Herbert against Washington, and Bill Roethlisberger against Buffalo. Those are other guys that you could sit. They all are playing really solid defenses, and they all have different reasons as to why you shouldn't start them this week. Not really the best matchups for these quarterbacks, even though, Justin Herbert is kind of a surprise to see on this list. He's going against an elite defense, and it's going to be the first time that he actually had to play against a crowd for the first time in his career. Not sure how he's going to take it. If you got him, start him. If not, go ahead and pull somebody that's maybe on your bench or maybe, on the waivers and start them because they have better matchups. And with all that being said, let's go to running back starts and sits. So let's go. So to start off the running back starts, go on ahead and start everybody that you got for the Niners. You can start Mostert, and you can start Sherman or Sermon, however you say his last name. My bad. But they are going to most likely employ a 2 running back system, and they're going to have, obviously, what I was saying earlier about their great offensive line. And I just feel like it's an easy matchup. It don't even take a lot of analysis. They're going against Detroit. So start Sermon, and start Mostert. All right. So it's James Robinson versus Houston. I mean, it's obvious. He's facing the worst defense. You already heard about what I think about the Houston defense. I don't. So go ahead and get James Robinson. Like I said, it's easy. And it's Gus Edwards versus my Raiders. Again, I'm not biased. I just feel like this is going to be a good matchup for him and maybe a bad matchup for us. At least I hope, for my sake, that I'm wrong. For y'all's sake, I hope he goes off. I'm not starting him because he's going against the Raiders. But anyway, that's another story for another day. Go ahead and start Gus Edwards against my Raiders. More starts for you is none other than Austin Ekeler against Washington. I think I'm spelling his name wrong. My bad, Ekeler. But Najee Harris against Washington, against Buffalo. Miles Sanders against Atlanta, and Mike Davis against Philly. Those are other guys that you can start with confidence, and you'll be okay. So with that being said, let's go to running back sits. All right. More sits for you. First sit is DeAndre Swift versus San Francisco. It's a little bit obvious that the Niners are probably going to win that game, and they're going to have the better defense and just a better team overall. DeAndre Swift is in a really bad matchup. He's also in a running back by committee. Word on the street is that Jamal Williams is actually that starting running back right now. So go ahead and sit DeAndre Swift. not a clear role, and he's probably not 100%. It's a little bit easy. Go ahead and sit him. I'm going to just straight up keep it 100 with you. Steve Swift. For some of the same reasons I told you to sit Swift is the same reasons I'm telling you to sit Henderson. Go ahead and sit both of those guys. All right, let's go to the next sit. So the next sit that I have is Devin Singletary versus Pittsburgh. He's a backup running back against a tough matchup. I just really think that Zach Moss is better. And Buffalo is a passing team anyway, but I just really think from what I've seen from the preseason that Zach Moss is just better than Devin Singletary. I could be wrong, but from what I've seen, Moss is most likely going to be that guy. And if he's not, it's just going to be an ugly running back by committee. I just really don't believe much in Devin Singletary. He's had a whole bunch of time to wow everybody, and he hasn't yet. So go ahead and sit him against Pittsburgh. Sit him in a lot of matchups. To be honest, no shade on Singletary. I just believe a little bit more in Zach Moss. First off, if you've made it this far in the video, first off, I just want to say I appreciate you. And second off, obviously, let's get to the rest of the sits. The rest of the sits is Josh Jacobs. You know how I feel about my Raiders, but you also know I'm not biased, as I will repeatedly say Josh Jacobs is not in for a good matchup for Baltimore. And Tevin Coleman, he's going against Carolina. He's also not in a good matchup. Melvin Gordon is not in a good matchup as well. So all of these starts and sits is based off the matchups. Now, if they can conquer and I can be wrong, then, you know, that's cool. Fantasy football is a crapshoot. Sometimes you see guys with a bad matchup and then they turn around and they're actually better than that. So I feel confident in the guys that I picked out. You guys can pick that as well. Again, if you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Tune in to the wide receiver and tight ends that I'm posting right before Thursday Night Football. All right.